Hello and welcome to another episode of Today You Learned. This will actually be another post-exploitation video where we will try to get access to a vCenter server, in this case the vCenter server web interface as administrator. It's a follow-up on a previous video where I actually demonstrated this script, a fingerprinter, which let me show you what it was. So this script is actually able to detect, to scan in multiple threads at the same time all the VMware products or several VMware products within a subnet. And in that episode, the previous video that will be linked in the description, we actually were able to exploit a known vulnerability on this vCenter server, so this IP address, and then gain access to that vCenter server as root, so install a user. So let me show you. So the user that we created in a previous video is actually the pwned user with, of course, a password that we know that we have, and we also made it so that the user is able to become root or to have sudo permissions. Alright, so now we are root on that vCenter server, and the next phase would be to perform post exploitation. So let me show you the web interface. So if I copy paste the IP address of that vCenter server, this is our destination, our target, actually right here, to get access to that environment in the web interface. So inside my GitHub, there's actually a third script, a SAML login. So if we click on it, we can actually see that we only need one file. It runs offline, so we need to download this file. You can theoretically, of course, run it on the vCenter server itself, but I think it's better if you run it offline. And if you want to run it offline, you need this file, which is by default on that location. Since we are root, let's try to get it out. So we are now logged in with sudo permissions. So we will have to do several things. We first have to copy this file, for example, to a temp folder, like this, and then we better make it readable for our pwned user. So why not just make it readable for everyone? Everyone would be something like this, like this. So this way we are sure that the pwned user is able to download that file from this folder. An easy way to do this would be to use something called SCP. So we can download using SCP like this. Where is the file? It should be in data.mdb, and let's copy it over via SSH to the current folder. We know the password, of course, and now the file is being downloaded. The file is downloaded. Oh, unless, of course, we're in Windows. The script works equally fine in Linux or Windows. So here we have our SAML login. Let's take a look at that script. Like all good scripts, I should say, it has a help, of course. It requires two things. It needs the path to the MDB file, not that hard because it's in the current folder. That's the path, and the IP address of the target to log in. So what this will actually do is use a certificate, an identity certificate that is part of that database, that is in that database, and it will use that identity certificate to perform a single sign-on SAML login. So the way most applications currently log in, especially on Microsoft and so on. So perform a login for a random username. So in this case, let's say the administrator at vsphere.local username, and then it will actually show us the cookie that is the result of that login, and then we can inject that cookie inside our browser, refresh, and we are logged in. That's the way this works. So he has been able to extract the IDP certificate and the both trusted certificates that are needed. It has found the correct host name, because of course with SAML that is a very important part of the SAML request, to have the correct host name. It has obtained the administrator cookie for that IP address, and this is then the name that we need to insert or to implant into our browser. So let's do that now. So here we already have a connection, but we are not able to log in. Let's open the storage, the F12, and then the developer console of this browser. And within storage, if we click here, we can actually see the list of cookies. Maybe if I refresh, we should actually see at least one cookie. It could be because I haven't. It has been some time. Let's see if I can fix this. Okay, let's maybe visit the UI right now. That's not the UI. Okay, like this. It's easier like this. We already have our cookie right now. If we directly visit this, of course it's not the correct one, 9C, and it should be this one. So this is the cookie of the logged in. The name seems fine. Press enter. Okay, so now we changed that cookie for this path. So now the only thing we have to do is actually revisit that path like it said in the script. And now we are suddenly logged in as administrator, as you can see. And as administrator, we can do whatever you want. We have full access to every single virtual machine in this environment. These are all the virtual machines. These are all the hosts. We can shut them down, shut them off or power up or whatever. And the same goes with virtual machines. We can actually open consoles like a web console or whatever and have full access to that virtual machine. Right, physical access. Okay, and as always, of course, keep learning.